I was doing so well and then SteamyLit happened. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brie and this is 4 Paws on a Book. I have a book haul for you. Listen, I bought books. I went to SteamyLit Con. It's a whole thing. It's fine. But I do have some books. Now, I do have an updated physical TBR number. I haven't actually filmed a book haul in a while, so my updated physical TBR is 223 books. That's as of the beginning of August, so anything that I read in August, I'll take off at the end of the month. That just is easier math. Which is actually better than I thought it was. I really thought I was like getting closer to 300. So I don't have a ton of like order to this. A little bit, but not a lot. But I am going to start with the books that I have already read so that those ones don't get added onto the TBR number, and then go from there. So I have read Silver Fox by Kayla Grassi. This is a little novella. You'll actually see her come up in the books I haven't read yet. But I did read this for my blind ranking SteamyLit authors video. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. This was phenomenal. And I cannot wait to read her full-length novels because I've only read novellas from her so far. I also have House of Bane and Blood by Alexis L. Menard. This is in contention for my best book of the year. I love this book. It's absolutely a like phenomenal, unique, refreshing romantasy that is set in like a steampunk setting where our main character does not have magic. She is the heiress to a railway empire, and then she is forced into this arranged marriage with Nico, the love of my life. I also hauled The Friendship Study by Ruby Barrett. I actually read this before I hauled it, so like pat myself on the back, okay? This is a contemporary romance with fantastic ADHD representation. I also gave this one 5 stars. I have the Barnes & Noble Collector's Edition of The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I wasn't going to get this one, but because I was gonna wait for the paperback, but then we had this like really gorgeous alternate cover on the exclusive edition, so I bought this right before I went to SteamyLit so I could have them sign it. This is very similar to The Unhoneymooners in like tropes, but it is about 2 characters who were married in college and then they kind of went their separate ways, but they never actually filed for divorce, and then they have to come back 5 years later because he needs to be married for his inheritance to go through. And then I sold a bunch of books on Pengo, and so I've been kind of looking at some special editions, and I found this absolutely gorgeous edition of Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. This is from the Bookish box, I believe, but like look how stunning it is. Like these pages are gorgeous. Listen, I only gave this book like 3.5 stars, but it's just so pretty. The end papers are so stunning, and then there's like this alternate cover, and then this. It's just, I couldn't pass it up, and it was only like I think $20, and so because it was Pengo bucks, it was free. So that's all that I've bought that I've already read. I somehow only have one normal fantasy book on here, and that is Spin of Fate by A.A. Vora. This is a book that Rachel from Reads with Rachel has been fawning over and loving. I think she read it as an ARC and absolutely loved it, and so I'm gonna actually have a video project that's gonna be happening potentially like in September, I'm not really sure, where I will be reading this and a couple of other books. This has like a revolution, rebellion, you know, magnificent beast, unforgiving magic, epic battles. The world is governed by tyrannic law, a force that segregates people into upper and lower realms. It's said that if the sinful lowers commit themselves to kindness and charity, their souls will lighten, allowing them into the peaceful upper realms. I feel like this is going to have some religious deconstruction in it, and I am here for it. Then we'll do fantasy romance. Have a lot of that. I have The Emperor and the Endless Palace by Justinian Huang. I wanted to buy this at SteamyLit, and he sold out in like 4 or 5 hours before I had gotten to his table, and so I met him. I actually like sat in on a panel that he was on, and like this just sounded so good. It's a queer Asian inspired fantasy romance, so like sounds fantastic. So I met him. He's a delightful person, and while I was there bought this on Pengo, and I was like, don't worry, it'll be there when I get home. So I'm very excited to pick this one up. And then, like I already said, City of Mirth and Malice is the sequel to House of Bane and Blood. This is, it's a completed duology. I think it's going to be a series of duologies, so like she's writing something else in this world, which I'm here for. But this is definitely getting read in August. Like, if nothing else, this is getting read in August. And then when I was at SteamyLit, we were given swag bags that like had just random books in there. It didn't make a whole lot of sense because not all of the authors were there. I don't know if they like were originally planning on it. I don't know. But the funny thing, I got When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I don't know that I'm gonna love this book. I don't think I'm gonna love this book. I feel like the writing is gonna be too purple prosy for me, but here we are. Is she chonky? I don't know. But my little like string theory happening right now is that I'm going to be reading the Goodreads Choice Awards for Romantasy if that becomes a like ongoing genre that they have, and I know for a fact this one will be on there. I'll probably read it before the end of the year. And then another author that I met at SteamyLit was Alex Chan Yi. This is Elemental Ruin, and this is a Fae inspired fantasy romance. I think it's got some like very morally great characters, and why would me being magic be an issue? Fae and magics have not been at peace for millennia. So we have war, we have rebellion. Like, those are all things that I love in fantasy romance. I love fantasy forward romances where there's like an epic plot surrounding the romance, not just like smut, right? I want something going on outside of it. And then I picked up these special editions. I pre-ordered them, and this is Living Legend and Legendary by Ali Shanti. This is a completed duology about like an angel and demon fantasy romance. Listen, you say something is like Lucifer, and I will immediately pick it up. But we have one of our main characters who has been trained by Lilith her entire life, and then we have an angel, and it's gonna be a whole thing. But I don't know much about it. I read about 30% of it before I ordered like the special edition because I wanted to make sure that I would like the author's writing, but I didn't have a chance to completely finish it. But now I have the special pretty editions. Okay, then we have a lot of romance. I picked up Forbidden Trinity by Sierra Simone. This is a collection of 3 novellas all together, and it's like one of her like self-pub bindings. So I haven't read any of them, so we're going to do that soon. I don't know when, but soon. My pre-order of Dark Restraint by Katie Robert came in. This is the newest in the Dark Olympus series. This is Minotaur and Ariadne, and I actually have the special edition that has this gorgeous sprayed edges, and it came from Bookish Signs, which I will link down below if you're interested. Very little I can tell you about this book because it is like number 8 in a series. I love this series so much. This is another one that will definitely be getting read in August. And then my Afterlight book for July was Hot Summer by Elle Everhart. And this is a queer contemporary romance that takes place on kind of like a Bachelor in Paradise show, but she falls for one of the contestants, like one of the other contestants. So love that. It's going to be kind of like, you know, sapphic charm offensive is what I'm going for, and it's again stunning. These gorgeous sprayed edges, and then like the end pages are gorgeous, and then this is just really fun. I don't know that I will get to this like before it's not summer anymore, just because it doesn't necessarily fit with any of the weekly vlogs that I'm doing, but we'll see. And then there were 3 other contemporary romances that were in that swag bag at SteamyLit. So Can't Resist Her by Kiana Alexander. This is another like sapphic romance that I've had my eye on for several months, almost have picked it up, so I was actually kind of cool that it was in my bag. I feel like this is going to be an opposites track. It's about a teacher, or like a couple of different teachers that like, you know, butt heads a little bit. Who knows? And then Curves for Days by Laura Mower. This is actually a book that I had an ARC for and then didn't get around to reading, so we'll now definitely be reading it. This is a plus size romance about a woman and her like contractor, I think. I don't know. Like that she's like fixing up a house, and then the burly contractor. So we love plus size romances here. And then one that I actually have no idea about, but Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. I actually don't know that I will be keeping this one, only because Abby Jimenez tends to write a couple, like I have 2 or 3 triggers, like overall, and she tends to find all of them, and so I need to do some research and see if this one is one that I will be able to read. I don't know. If you know who you are, if you think that I can read this, let me know. Then we have our other 2 Kayla Grassi books, and these are the cowboy romances. So Rein Me In and Wrote Me In are like it's duology. Well, there might be a 3rd one coming out, but this one is one that just came out, but like plus size cowboy romance. I also got to see Kayla on one of the panels about plus size romances, and she is adorable. She's so sweet, and I'm so glad that I got to like talk to her a little bit. And then I also picked up an Olivia Dade book, and this is 40 Love. And this is a, again, plus size romance. This is in the same series as Teach Me, which I really, really loved as well. And this is about a woman who goes to a resort like for vacation, and then the like tennis instructor at the resort. Sounds really cute. Love that. That's all I have for romance. I have a couple of sci-fi. One of my Patreon members, Laura, sent me this. I'm so excited about it. She got it at, I think, ALA, and sent me a message and was like, hey, I know you love this book. Do you want it? And it is an arc for The Brightness Between Us, which is the sequel to The Darkness Outside Us, which I didn't think needed a sequel, but now that I have it, I'm gonna need to read it. This is actually going to be a book club pick, I think probably for my Patreon in October when it comes out, because everyone read The Darkness Outside Us this summer and absolutely loved it, and so we need to read the sequel. And then one of the Aardvark books that I got last month I think, was The Stardust Grail by Yumi Kitase. I don't know much about this, but I actually just saw Lexi read it in a vlog recently, and she said it had a heist in it, which is a book that I needed a heist story for my R Fantasy bingo board. I don't know that, because it's a sci-fi, I don't know that it will fit, but we'll have to see if it has any, like, you know, extraterrestrial stuff. I think it will work. I don't know, we'll see. But it's kind of been like touted as an Indiana Jones style outer space heist adventure. That's exciting. I don't know much about it though. This stack I really won't know anything about because they are thrillers and horror, and I really don't go into thrillers or horror knowing anything. If you haven't been around for vlogs recently, I'm on a John Mars kick. I read one, and now I want all of them. I guess technically I have read this one, so I'm not actually going to add this one to my TBR. I will probably reread it, but I don't count rereads. Like, you know what I mean? So, The Passengers by John Mars, I read this one years ago. It was fine, but I was in a very much a life slump at the time, and so I only gave it like 3.5 stars, and now I want to reread it after reading the one, because this one kind of follows the one, and see what the hype was and see if I'm gonna love it, because I feel like now I will. And then I got The Marriage Act, which is Britain, the near future. A right-wing movement believes it has the answer to society's ills. The Sanctity of Marriage Act actively encourages marriage as the norm, punishing those who choose to remain single. But 4 couples are about to discover just how impossible relationships can be when the government is monitoring every aspect of our personal lives, monitoring every word, every minor disagreement, and will use every tool in its arsenal to ensure everyone will love, honor, and obey. This sounds terrifying. John Mars does like social commentary so well. Like they're so interesting. And so his new one was The Family Experiment, and this is about like wanting to like basically having children becomes too expensive, and so these couples are in this competition where you can have an AI, like a virtual reality child, and whoever wins this competition by like raising the child the best can actually like wins the ability to have a real child. Again, social experiments, social like commentary. I'm here for all of that. I also picked up the 3rd Housemaid book. This is The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. I'm not even going to look at the back of this because I actually haven't read the 2nd one. I'm hoping to be able to read that one this month. Don't know that it will happen, but this is the 3rd book, but it was on a BOGO table at Barnes & Noble. I think when I bought the Friendship Study, I bought the 2 together. Then we have The Unraveling by Vi Keeland. This synopsis is so vague. This isn't a love story. It's a story about obsession. You'll assume you know who the object of obsession is. The psychiatrist concealing the twisted connection she has to her patient. Or maybe her patient isn't as innocent as he seems. But one more person hides a secret. To what lengths will desire and grief drive a person? Stop guessing. Let the mystery unravel. I've read one of her books that was like a romance, so I'm curious to see how she does a thriller. And then my book of the month pick, I didn't necessarily like want to read this, or it wasn't like a first pick of mine, but I wanted Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, which I didn't put in this haul because it's in my TBR, but oh well. And that is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. And then I think the Literally Dead book club is actually going to be using this for a pick, and it sounded interesting. When a teenager vanishes from Adirondack summer camp, 2 worlds collide. It takes place in 1975. A camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Leer, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. Oops. So, summer camp thriller. We're here for that. Then I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I've been hit or miss with his books. I've given some 3 stars and some 5 stars, but this one sounds interesting, and I think it was actually inspired by a short story of his. And then lastly, kind of like a sci-fi mystery, and this is The Ministry of Time. A boy meets girl, the past meets the future, a finger meets a trigger, the beginning meets the end. I love like time, like books that mess with time, so this one was something that I was really interested in. It might get highlighted in a vlog depending on what happens that week when I am reading tropes that I love, because I did talk about like the idea of messing with time in my 5-star predictions or my 5-star audit, so this is an option for that. I haven't heard anybody actually talk about it. I've heard people haul it, but I have not heard any reviews on it, so I don't know how it's going to be. Okay, so we are adding 24 books to our TBR. We were at 223, so that puts us up to 247, which is not great. Not great, but I am kind of slowly doing another unhaul. I don't know that I'll like film it, but I'll have books up on Pango, so stay tuned for that. And the idea is to read a bunch of books that I own in August. The idea is to read a bunch of books just in general in August, but hopefully books that I own. If you do want to see my last book on haul, I will leave it linked right here. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little button you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!